Welcome to another episode of the Soul-u-tions podcast. All right, I've got you, friends. I know that Thanksgiving is tomorrow, and you may be listening to this on Thanksgiving Day. You may be listening to this the day after Thanksgiving, but whenever you listen to it, it has a very, very special message for the you who has great expectations for this holiday and for yourself and for doing everything right and making the most of it. I've got a little permission slip for you. So come on and join me after the intro song and we'll get straight to it.
Einstein said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." Most everyone in the world is solving their problems the wrong way. Our problems come from our thinking, and we can solve them with our thinking. So, whether you're at your lowest, just trying to grow, or whether you are trying to sustain growth over your lifetime, join us as we push the boundaries of our current thinking and redefine how we find Soul-u-tions.
And the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities.
Okay, friends, today I want to talk to you about a gift that I received in my meditation this morning and that I want to pay forward to you right here on the eve of the first of the 2024 holiday season coming up. So you're going to hear this hopefully the day before Thanksgiving, but it really doesn't matter when you hear it because you need to hear this message. I needed to hear this message this morning just because I was preparing this podcast for you today. And I'm like, thank you to the Lord above, all the angels in heaven and the saints, and a particular shout out to the Lazy Genius. I don't know if any of you follow the Lazy Genius. If you are in my age bracket as a woman, you might not know her. She was introduced to me by one of my clients and one of my just 40, not quite 40 something members in the Soul-u-tions Labs. And you can follow her on Instagram at The Lazy Genius. She is a genius. And what she's really a genius about is capturing how we are obsessed with productivity and always doing our best as women in every single aspect of our lives, like why we feel compelled to do everything all at once to this insane standard that has been set for us. I don't know by whom, I will just say the elves on Madison Avenue, or just maybe it's growing pains. The more I think about it, because if you are a frequent listener to this podcast, you know that this is the problem that I am constantly trying to solve for women in midlife, whether you're, just at that entry point of 30-ish, or if you're pushing into your 70s, right? Why do we feel so compelled to have to do everything and have to do everything to the best of our capabilities? So back to this morning, preparing for this podcast, and I was sitting in my meditation time. And that's when I really sift through a lot of these issues that we talk about on the podcast within myself. And I want you to know we're going to have a little special, very short meditation. I'm going to lead you through that in a bonus episode right after this. But I was going through that and kind of sifting through these parts of me that, really, why do I feel like I have to be the best at everything, or perform at such a high level. And if I don't, I constantly feel disappointed in myself. And so this has been an ongoing conversation I've been having with myself for the last 30 days. And if you're in the Soul-Shine Labs, you've heard me share this in our classes. So I'm like, it's getting in the way of me enjoying my life, which at 57, with an empty nest and having pivoted from a career in the practice of law to a career as an entrepreneur, a life coach, and the founder of this amazing collective of women, the Soul-Shine Labs, which is just an educational platform where we can all kind of try to, think through what are these things that keep us from enjoying our life. I mean, truly, I have worked so hard my entire life from the moment I, was in high school and student body president and salutatorian of my class and a ballet dancer. Like everything I had to do, I wanted to do, I had to do it at this crazy level. And if I'm not doing it, if I feel like I'm falling down and not exceptional in any of these roles, I beat myself up about it and I just feel bad. And it had a bit of a wake-up call about a month ago where I'm like, why am I not enjoying this phase of my life? And I'm guessing you feel this way too, because this is not the first time I felt that way. I felt that way in my mid-30s, which is when I started working with a life coach. I'm like, I've achieved all the things, partner in a law firm, great marriage, beautiful children, house that was just my dream house, all the things. And I felt empty inside. And I've been kind of grappling with this. And so what I want you to know is, this is normal. And you're going to grapple with this question more than once in your life. You're going to meet it at different levels. You're going to grapple with it. You're going to kind of like figure it out and you're going to move forward. And then you're going to find a new layer of it. So that's what right now I'm grappling with a new layer of this. And after my meditation, I hopped on the Instagram, and that's when I received this amazing gift from the Lazy Genius. And this is what she said in her thing, and I'll link to this in our show notes too. But she says, it's okay to be mediocre. It's okay to be mediocre one day and great the next, and mediocre another day. And when I heard that, it felt like the biggest exhale, the biggest permission slip. I'm like, I've totally got this podcast episode and the next that I'm going to come in to record, because without that pressure of this having to be the greatest podcast that you have ever listened to in your entire life and that you are going to want to share with your friends. And it's probably going to go viral. And I will be on the Today Show or Mel Robbins or one of these things before Christmas because it was that meaningful to you. And when I put that type of pressure on myself, I totally freeze. I procrastinate. I struggle. And I feel the weight of the world on my shoulders. And this isn't the only area of my life where I do this. I do this in my parenting. I do this in my volunteer work. I'm on a national committee for the Garden Club of America. It's something that my local garden club I'm in. And I'm the conservation and national affairs and legislative co-chair for the entire Zone 8, the garden clubs located in Zone 8 that are a member of this national organization. And I have been so totally frozen in reaching out to those 17 garden clubs that I'm a liaison to communicate what the national, topics are on conservation, because I'm like, this has to be the best email. This email has to be so good. It has to be so meaningful. And my kind of obsession with the best isn't necessarily in the area of grammar or punctuation or form. It's more in this place of meaning. Like, it really has to strike people that read it or listen to it. Like, it has to make them feel seen and heard and relevant. And so when I was listening to The Lazy Genius, who, by the way, does appear on the Today Show, and Mel Robbins, and has, amazing book deals and all of this. And she said, it's okay to be mediocre, and mediocre today. I was like, thank you. I know this to be true in my heart. And like I say, I've been doing this work for a long time, but I still need to be reminded about that on a regular basis. And in the Soul-Shine Labs, I am great at reminding the members and the women who show up on those calls. I'm great at reminding them about that. I'm great at reminding my children about that. I'm great about reminding my husband about that. But I also need to be reminded about that. And, if you're not in the Soul-Shine Labs, I'm guessing that you too need a person like I need to remind you about that on a regular basis. So shout out to the Lazy Genius for reminding me about this today. And I wrote a few things down that was kind of brainstorming that I wanted to share with you. The moon, let's just get this out on the table. I mean, the quarter moon is kind of mediocre. I love the moon. I think the moon is brilliant and beautiful. But golly, last week we were driving to Parents' Weekend and we were on the interstate and it wasn't dark yet, right? And there's this huge full moon on the horizon that was pink and stunning and beautiful. And I'm taking my phone out to capture the pictures. And my husband's like, did you get it? Did you get it? I'm like, you're bouncing around. I'm like, we're texting everyone in our family. Look at the moon. It is amazing. But I don't ever do that when it's a quarter moon. And by the way, the official look of the quarter moon is just a half of a circle. It's the one where the half is that vertical top to bottom. It's just like a semicircle like that. That's the quarter moon. I mean, when was the last time you ever took your camera out and called everyone or texted everyone in your family about the quarter moon? It's get out there and see it. But I don't think that the moon is failing or the moon overall isn't magnificent or amazing or that it's doing its job wrong. I mean, it just is a little mediocre during that phase. And it hits that phase twice a month. Twice a month when it's, it hits it once when it's becoming full and it hits it another time on its way back to that other magnificent fingernail moons phase, right? It's just you want to just call everybody up, walk outside, stare at the moon and go, magnificent. So if the moon can be mediocre on some days and amazing on others, so can you and I. All right, here's another one. This is really, for my Georgia fans out there, but no matter what your fandom is, you're going to resonate with this one. I mean, the University of Georgia was ranked number 1 in football at the beginning of this season. It now has 2 losses. I'm just going to say University of Georgia football team was kind of mediocre at Ole Miss a few weeks ago. We lost. We played kind of mediocre. Some people might argue a little less than mediocre, but we played mediocre because we hung in with them, right? And yet, there's still all this conversation about University of Georgia and its path to the playoffs, to the bowl, whatever you call those bowl things, and to maybe the national championship again. You know, I mean, 2 national championships in recent years, and yet it has played mediocre at least twice this season, and it's not over yet. And we're not throwing them out. So, my friends, if the University of Georgia football team can have a mediocre game or two, you could have a mediocre day, 2, or hour at Thanksgiving. Okay, this is my last one of my mediocre moments. And this is going to be one of my mediocre moments. Mentioned, headed to Parents' Weekend last weekend. Amazing. My son is a senior at the University of South Carolina, and we had an amazing weekend. We had such a great time. Friday night was awesome. Saturday day, Saturday night, Sunday, great. But I had a mediocre moment when I showed up at the brunch spot on Sunday with my other son who had driven up for Parents' Weekend. And my college son, who I'm visiting, is still in bed and hadn't showed up yet at the meetup point, and there was a wait. And he was trying to, on the other end of the phone, what I know now is like he didn't want us to have to wait, and he was feeling so bad about himself, like beating himself up for not being the best kid whose parents have come for Parents' Weekend. And he was just trying to move us from here to there and go like, oh, go someplace else or go here or just find a place, Mom. And I finally was just, the best me was not there because it was Sunday morning of Parents' Weekend. We're all a little bit tired. I had not had my coffee yet. I was waiting to have it at brunch. And I hung up on it. I literally just said, I'm here. I'm staying. I can't have this conversation anymore. And I hung up the telephone. So, I'm a life coach and I coach a lot on parenting and on relationships and how to show up as the best version of you and to see other person in their best versions. But I would say like that moment when I hung up on him, that would have been like a truly mediocre mom moment. And guess what? He called me back. He showed up. We had an amazing lunch. We worked through it. It didn't ruin or impact or affect anything about our trip. So back to, today, you in this moment, listening to this podcast, it could be the day before Thanksgiving. It could be on Thanksgiving. It could be after Thanksgiving. It's okay to have a mediocre day. It's okay to have mediocre moments in your day. In fact, it's something that you should embrace as a normal part of your month. If the moon can have 5 to 6 days of mediocreness, and probably, let's just admit it, it's probably a little bit more of mediocreness. Let's just call it 5 or 6 days of wow, amazingness, right? And the rest is somewhere, in between. So can you. And your relationships with the people you love are about the totality of those experiences with one another. And, you know, the deposits that you're making with them and how you show up, whether it's, you know, talk about mediocre, consistently or inconsistently showing up, because that was another beautiful gift I got this morning, which was something Elise Lohan wrote about radical inconsistency. And so you could be radically inconsistent in how you show up, at how you tend to certain things in your life. You can be mediocre, and you yourself can still be an amazing human being with this beautiful soul shine in you that everyone that you love gets to interact with and say, wow, on, you know, maybe at least a once a month basis. So I hope you have a great holiday season, and I hope you take this with you as this reminder to, it's okay to be mediocre this holiday. It's okay to be mediocre today and great tomorrow and mediocre the next. It's okay to be radically inconsistent in your awesomeness. Just keep being you, my friend. Okay, one thing I want to make sure that you know about, just a couple little housekeeping things. On Thursday, December 5th, I have a free webinar. It's going to be from 11 to 12. If you're on my email list, which you can get on at tarasimkins.com, you will get an invitation to this. So make sure, like right now, if you're not driving, just go to tarasimkins.com. The link is in the show notes, and make sure you sign up to get on my email list. You will, when you do that, you will also get my free masterclass on this tool, the 2553 tool, which is the tool that I use to solve and walk all the members in the Soul-u-tions Lab through solving their most pressing problems and also creating, you know, their most like mediocre days and their most awesome days. And the free masterclass, which is open to everyone, you don't have to be a member of the Soul-u-tions Lab, is going to be on how to stop complaining and start asking for what you want. So I hope you'll join us there. And I also hope that you will save the date in addition to December 5th. That's a Thursday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you can't make it, you'll get a replay as long as you sign up for it. If you are on that email list, the next date to save is December the 26th. That is when I open the Soul-u-tions Labs for the last time this year. And all you have to do is go to tarasimkins.com, make sure you're on the email list, and then you will get the reminders for how to sign up and when. And that opening is December 26th to January 2nd. There is nothing I would love more than to be that person who reminds you on a weekly basis, a twice weekly basis, that it's okay to have a mediocre day. And if you join us in the Soul-u-tions Labs for this next year, that is what you will get, your friendly weekly reminder from me. All right, my friends. Oh, let's go through the meditation on the back end. So listen to the next episode.
'Cause I ain't done living the life I'm meant to lead. And I ain't done loving the ones who cared for me. The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities.